If we have electricity available 24/7, we might never have to live in the dark. If we have water available 24/7, we may never have to go thirsty. If we have food handy, we might never have to go hungry. In the same way, if we have that resolve, if we have that attitude of obeying the Satpurush's words, if we have that intent of living by his words, come what may, then we are closer to him, closer to the Satpurush and God 24/7. So this is a remedy to be with him all the time. Gunatitanand Swami has mentioned the importance of obedience in his teachings. In chapter number 5, talk number 151, Gunatitanand Swami has put a lot of emphasis on this particular thing, that obedience is much more important than reverence. Gunatitanand Swami says, one who follows the commands and lives far away is still near my seat, while one who does not follow the commands may be near but is still far away. The kite may appear to go far away, but as long as the string is in the hand of the flyer, it is nearby. Similarly, if the string in the form of the commands is in the hand, then one is near Maharaj. What type of commands do we have to obey? How should the commands be followed? Shri Swaminarayan Bhagwan Jai, Akshar Purushottam Maharaj Jai, Gunatitanand Swami Maharaj Jai, Bhagat Ji Maharaj Jai, Shriji Maharaj Jai, Yogi Ji Maharaj Jai, Pramukh Swami Maharaj Jai, Mahant Swami Maharaj Jai. We all are aware of the fact that our sampradaya, more than being sadhana related, it is Agna oriented. Gunatitanand Swami has mentioned the importance of obedience in his teachings. In chapter number 5, talk number 151, Gunatitanand Swami has put a lot of emphasis on this particular thing, that obedience is much more important than reverence. Gunatitanand Swami says, one who follows the commands and lives far away is still near my seat, while one who does not follow the commands may be near but is still far away. So no matter how much knowledge one may have, affection one may have, or great one may be, but if commands are transgressed, it is not possible to stay in the satsang for long. Then Swami gave an example. The kite may appear to go far away, but as long as the string is in the hand of the flyer, it is nearby. Similarly, if the string in the form of the commands is in the hand, then one is near Maharaj. In the Sahajananda Namavali, one of the unique names that Swaminarayan Bhagwan has, which is mentioned in the Namavali, is Om Shri Sarvatantra Swatantraya Namaha, which means that God is independent. There is nobody to control him. There is nobody to influence him, his actions or his decisions. Every living being in this world is under the control of a greater or more powerful living being. But that is not the case with God. And that's why the name Sarvatantrai Swatantraya Namaha. In most of the fields, people are taught the importance of obedience, and they are also made to know the advantages they will gain if they obey the people who are superior to them. One such famous incident, we will have a look at one such famous incident that highlights the importance of obeying the commands of our superior. On 25th October 1854, British forces were fighting a war in the state of Ukraine, Russia. Enemy cannons were stationed in front of them, and as it has been mentioned in the poetry by Alfred Tennyson, There were cannons to the left of them, there were cannons in front of them, there were cannons on the right of them. And actually, the commander-in-chief of the British Army did not know of this. And he, mistakenly, unaware of the cannons everywhere, he ordered the troops to march forward. Now, as soon as they heard this command, they knew that moments from now, even if they take a few steps ahead, they will invite death for themselves. But there were no questions asked, no conditions applied. All they had with them, and the one supreme thing, the singular thing that they were obsessed with in their minds, is to follow the commands of their superior, to live by the commands of their commander-in-chief. And they sacrificed their life just at the word of their leaders. 272 out of 673 soldiers died then and there. So, this is the importance of obedience, even from a worldly point of view. So, if obedience carries this much weightage for someone who wants to progress in worldly matters, then there is no surprise in considering its importance on a from a spiritual point of view. So any spiritual aspirant who wants to progress, as Mehul Bhai just mentioned, he will only need a small amount of intellect or logic to find out that he is in the hands of a genuine guru. Then once it is for sure that the guru that we have found is genuine, then we do not need to use the intellect. We use the famous word buddhine taru maru. That means to lock our intellect and to do as the guru says. So our sampradaya is Agna oriented, and Gunatitanand Swami has highlighted this particular thing in his Vat. This is Vat number 151, chapter 5. Let us be honest, we all are obsessed with one thing, and we also fancy ourselves being as much close to the Satpurush as is possible. Whenever we go to India for Swami Baba's lab, we want to have his darshan from as much close as is possible. We want to be seated in front of the Sabha as much as is possible. We have our understanding that we all, even if we wish, it is practically not possible for us to stay in the proximity with the Satpurush 24/7, because we will have to separate for activities like eating, drinking, bathing, cleaning, etc. But Gunatitanand Swami has showed us a way in this particular Vat. Swami has showed us a short remedy which, when applied, will not only take us closer to the Satpurush, will always make us feel that we are closer to the Satpurush and that God and our Guru are always with us. What is that single remedy? That is the remedy that we are talking about: obedience. Obedience is much, much, much greater than reverence. If we have electricity available 24/7, we might never have to live in the dark. If we have water available 24/7, we may never have to go thirsty, unless it is a dry fast. Nirjada Uppas, even that is obedience again. If we have food handy, we might never have to go hungry. In the same way, if we have that resolve, if we have that attitude of obeying the Satpurush's words, if we have that intent of living by his words, come what may, then we are closer to him, closer to the Satpurush and God 24/7. So this is a remedy to be with him all the time. We will look at a few prasangs that highlight the importance of Agna. We will see how it helps us progress on the path of spirituality. We will see how much it is advantageous to us, and we will see how much it pleases the Satpurush from within. And we will also see that if we do not live by the commands of the Satpurush, then we may fall from satsang. In 1958, Yogiji Maharaj was to go to Gondal to celebrate the festivals of Sharad Purnima and Andkut. So Yogi Baba, he would never travel alone. There would always be a bunch of youth and a bunch of sadhus always traveling with him. So Yogi Baba, there were a few youths traveling with him. Yogi Baba sent them to Gondal earlier to make preparations for the Annakut and Sharad Purnima festival. Raman Boy was one of them. So during the festival, Yogi Baba gave a lot of labh. People associated with him, they benefited by his company, by his darshan, by his talks. So people had a lot of labh of Yogi Baba. And after the festival, in a few days, when Raman Bhai, who's now Dr. Swami, when the Yuvak Raman Bhai was leaving, Yogi Baba asked him, for how many days would we stay together? So Raman Bhai counted the number of days when Yogi Baba had come to Gondal. And he told him the number of days. Yogi Baba said, why did you not count the number of days since you had come to Gondal? He said, Baba, you had sent us a few days earlier to prepare for the festivals, but then you were not there. So I did not count that many number of days. Yogi Baba said, Guru, you had come to Gondal at the command of the Satpurush. So even if the Satpurush was not present in Gondal, because you came here by his Agna, even for that many number of days, you were with the Satpurush, even though you were physically away from him. So this is how much advantageous and how much importance obeying the Satpurush is for us. Swaminarayan Bhagwan has mentioned in Karyani 11 that wherever such a devotee goes by the command of God, Bhagwan's murti also goes along with him. Then Bhagwan says, moreover, just as that devotee cannot live without God, in the same way, God also cannot remain without that devotee. And Maharaj also goes on to say that, in fact, actually, Bhagwan does not stay away from the devotee's heart for even that much amount of a time, as much is needed in blinking an eye. That means God will not go away from that devotee's heart even for a fraction of a second, but the only condition is that devotee should be ready to obey him no matter what. Another interesting prasang is Yogi Baba and the sadhus, when they were going, in 1955, Yogi Baba and the sadhus were going to travel abroad for the first time on a dharma yatra. So Balmukund Swami was selected as Yogiji Maharaj's attendant. And when, after visiting all the mandirs, when Yogi Baba came to Bochasan, he went to meet Akshar Purushottam Swami, who was not well at that time. And Balmukund Swami was actually his sevak. So then Yogi Baba told him that after some formal talk, Yogi Baba told him about his program, that we are going to go for a Pardesh Yatra very soon. It's a Satsang Dharma Yatra, and we are also taking Balmukund Swami with us. So when Akshar Purushottam Swami heard of this, that his sevak is being taken on a tour, he got a bit upset, and he told Yogiji Maharaj that Balmukund Swami is a good sevak. If you take him away, who will serve me here? So when Akshar Purushottam Swami informed of his problem of not being happy if Balmukund Swami is taken away, Yogi Baba just looked at Balmukund Swami, and without even Yogi Baba saying a word, Balmukund Swami understood his anuvrutti. He understood his inner wishes, and he told Yogi Baba, he folded his hands and said, Swami, don't worry, your commands, your Agna is my life, and I will do whatever you say. So then Yogi Baba was very much happy. Balmukund Swami did not get to go to the Pardesh Yatra with Yogiji Maharaj in this prasang, but Yogiji Maharaj said, we would permanently live with such a sadhu. That much pleased he was. And so this prasang explains us that if Balmukund Swami would have gone with Yogiji Maharaj on the Pardesh Yatra, he would have been with him physically for most of his time, if not 24 hours. He would have been with Balmukund Swami, with Yogiji Maharaj physically. But the amount of happiness, the amount of grace and Rajipo he received from the Satpurush by staying away from him to serve Akshar Purushottam Swami was much, much, much beyond what he would have received if he had accompanied Yogiji Maharaj on that particular tour. So There are numerous prasangs in our sampradaya which highlight that there's nothing wrong with physically being close to the Satpurush, and we must, as much as is possible, remaining within the limits and remaining within the Agna and remaining within the commands of our Kotari, we can go to visit the Satpurush and have his close proximity as much as possible. But otherwise, even if we are hundreds of thousands of miles away from him, if we follow his command, we are always close to him. The way we do not have to stay close to the powerhouse in order that our houses are lit up, right? We may be living hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the powerhouse, but if we have connection with the grid, our houses light up. And even if someone is living next to the powerhouse, but if there is no connection, he will have to spend his life in the dark. Same applies in satsang as well. So this is the importance of obeying Bhagwan and the Satpurush. Now, how to obey them? What type of commands do we have to obey? There are two types of commands. First is permanent commands, and the second is occasional commands. Nitya Agna, and there is prasangik Agna. So permanent commands are the codes of conduct that we as satsangis or sadhus have to follow. We have the moral boundaries, three purush maryada, and we have to abstain from eating outside food. We just can't go to a roadside eatery and eat whatever we want. So those are permanent agnas. Not eating onion, garlic, maintaining Stri Purush Maryada. So these are permanent agnas that we have to follow. And then we also have occasional commands, prasangik agna, like when we go to a festival to do seva, that is very temporary, that is only for time being. So such agnas are temporary. For example, during Corona, we had agna from the Satpurush, right? To keep social distance, to gargle with salt water twice or thrice, and to follow the rules of the government, not together. Even our mandirs were closed for visitors. Even in mandirs, very few people came to visit. Those who were there in the mandir only would go for Thakurji's darshan, and even there we used to have social distance. So these types of agnas are prasangi, these agnas are only occasional. So these are the two types of commands that we have to follow. Now we will also understand how should the commands be followed. This is also very important. First, we must follow the commands immediately. We all know that in 1967, Yogiji Maharaj's Amrit Mahotsav, his 75th birth celebrations had taken place, and Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he was the one person who had the responsibilities of all the 30 departments that we have in a Samayo. So Baba was so much busy with the festival, and it so happened that because there was a shortage of water, and because this necessity was more, as the Samayo was happening in Gondal, and because it was summertime and there was a shortage. So Pramukh Swami Maharaj, he called Dahayabai, who used to irrigate the fields in Gondal, and he called him and said that because we have a shortage of water this time, we won't be able to provide you ample amount for the crops, so make sure you only take such crops which require very less water. And maybe even that much amount of water we may not be able to provide. So just Swami just gave him, a heads up to be mindful of the use of water even in the fields. But Dahabai was a bit upset. He did not like this. He gave up his seva and he went back to his village, Devchadi. When Yogi Baba came to know of this, he called Pramukh Swami Maharaj and he told him to get back Dahabai from his village. Pramukh Swami Maharaj, amidst all the responsibilities and the busyness of the Samaya that was going on, Pramukh Swami Maharaj went to Devchadi. He convinced Dayabai, he asked for forgiveness, and he brought him back to Gondal. And then then Dayabai again rejoined the seva of farming that he had been doing. But just imagine, Swami was the only one who had responsibility of all the approximately 30 departments of the Samayo, and in such a busy schedule, Pramukh Swami Maharaj is making time to go to Devchari and convince the farmer and bring him back for his seva, just at the word of Yogiji Maharaj. Anybody else would have said, Swami, can I do that a few days later after the Samaya winds up? But Pramukh Swami Maharaj, for him, no task was menial, no command was trivial. It was only that, come what may, he wanted to please his Guru. So this is how we must follow Agna. Agna should be followed immediately. That means there shouldn't be any delay. Swami Narayan Bhagwan has mentioned in Vachanamrit Sarangpur 2, Bhagwan says, when God or a great saint says a word to someone, whether appropriate or inappropriate, they should immediately accept that word with love. We all know that Bhagwan and Sant would never say something that is inappropriate. But even if we find it inappropriate because we are body conscious, because we are into Dehi Bhav, because we don't have that much amount of Dehini Spashtata, so there are chances that we might feel that whatever the Satpurush has said is not proper, or we might find it inappropriate. But Bhagwan Swaminarayan says that at the spur of the moment, we must never deny the commands. We must accept the words of the Satpurush with love. So second, follow the commands with joy. Follow the commands with joy. We have this human tendency of doing things just for the sake of doing, most of the times. And just because we have to oblige someone, just because it is our duty. But Bhagwan says we must follow the commands with joy, with a pleasant mind. That means there shouldn't be any kind of agitation, or there shouldn't be any grudges against the person or against the activity or seva that we are doing. Maharaj says in Loya 4, staying in one's respective dharma, one should follow whatever commands God gives with joy, but should not get frustrated in order to do what one likes. There is a very inspiring incident that is very famous in the sampradaya. We all know of this, that in 1985, Pramukh Swami Maharaj's Suvarnatula was held in London, and a Swaminarayan Nagar had come up, and we all know that the youths of the London who were really well off, they would come to the Nagar in their Rolls Royce and Mercedes car, and they would dig potholes, they would pick up the filth all over the site, they would do whatever menial seva they had been assigned. No seva was big or small for them. Whatever Santa would assign them, they would lovingly do that. All from well-off families. So these youths, even the women's wing, they had prepared 100,000 packets of snacks. And because of the Suvarnatula, it so happened that the Nagar would be very busy on weekends. And if all the volunteers go to witness the Suvarnatula, the Nagar would be left unattended. So then everybody the organizers were in a fix, because those who were doing seva in the Nagar had also contributed in huge amount for Bapa's Suvarnatula. Now how can you deny someone entry into the Suvarnatula, into the QPR stadium when they've contributed a lot? So the organizers were kind of in a fix. And when Pramukh Swami Maharaj came to know of this, he called a meeting. All the 400 volunteers were sitting in the sabha. Bapa made an announcement. Swami said, I have to say something that you won't like. So now people are more curious, what's going on? Then Bapa said, I have to say something that you won't like. Then Swami said, no one is to come where the Suvarnatula is happening. Everybody should stay in their assigned service. All of the 400 volunteers, they cheered with great enthusiasm and said, Bapa, we are happy with whatever makes you happy. So Swami Baba was so much emotional, tears swelled up in his eyes. Baba said, I had never expected that I will get such a response. Even the women's wing, they had been doing seva in the dining hall and kitchen. They had been serving, they'd been washing utensils, but not a single volunteer from all the 400 went to the QPR stadium for Suvarnatula. And this was Shastriji Maharaj's Suvarnatula had happened in Atladra. It was 36 years later that this was happening, and this was the first of its kind anywhere outside of India. So this would be a really, really historical prasang to witness, and anybody would have loved to be there, and especially those who have really contributed hugely. But just at the word of the Satpurush, not one from those volunteers, 400 volunteers had been there. And a Hari Bhakta, he told his child that, see, you don't have any seva there, so you can go to the QPR stadium and I'll stay back at the Nagar doing seva. He said, look, Papa, when Bapa announced that nobody should go to the QPR stadium, everybody has to stay back in their seva, I was there in the sabha. That means I'm included. Even I have to follow that command. So, we say that prasang in vagere vagere, this was one of their vagere vagere. Even a small child, indirectly or directly, he is not ready to do anything against the Satpurush's internal wish. There is no doubt that Bapa stays with such people, such volunteers, 24/7, even if they are in London. They can be in America, they can be in India, they can be in any corner of the world. But because they are at the command of the Satpurush, because they are obeying him, they are always close to him. The third one is, we must follow commands to the letter. We use the word Agna, Shabda Saha Parvi. Commands should be followed to the letter, not in an approximation. There's no approximation with commands. They have to be followed to the letter. And when we say Agna should be followed to the letter, the most striking person that comes to my mind is when once Vinu Bhagat was in Badran and he had a mislocated pichoti, right? The navel muscles were dislocated, and Mahant Swami Maharaj, Vinu Bhagat had a stomach upset. So then Yogi Baba had him lie down. He fixed his pichoti, and then Yogi Baba sat in front of him. He made the two soles of his feet press against the two soles of the feet of Vinu Bhagat. He held his hand in both the hands, and then he did some stretching, and then he told Vinu Bhagat, just sit, I'll get some Sutni Godiyo for you. So Sutni Godi is the pills made from dry ginger powder with some jaggery and ghee infused in it, and it is very good for digestion. Anybody who has a stomach upset, this is the best remedy. So Yogi Baba told him to just sit back, and he went to get some Sutni Godi. But by the time Yogi Baba came, it was 45 minutes. Maybe it was not readily available in the mandir, and maybe he had summoned someone, a Hari Bhakta, to get it from his house. So when Yogi Baba came back with the Sutni Godis, it was already 45 minutes, and Vinu Bhagat was sitting in the same position with his back bent. So in 2020, in October, in Nainpur, when this prasang came up in a goshti, his sevak asked him, Swami, Yogi Baba actually didn't want you to sit that way, but didn't you get tired sitting in the same position for 45 minutes? Swami said, Na, maja avi. Swami said, no, I liked it. And another sevak asked him, Swami, what had you been doing for all the 45 minutes? Swami said, I was remembering Yogi Baba. So this is what you call obeying Agna to the letter. There's another striking prasang of Pramukh Swami Maharaj when he was just 18 years old. This is in 1939, when the young Shantilal had been assigned the responsibility to buy the new cricket equipments for the funds that had been gathered by his friends. And when Shantilal was assigned this responsibility of getting new equipments from Vadodara, so by the time this talk was going, suddenly Rauji Kaka came on a bicycle with a letter from Shriji Maharaj, and Shriji Maharaj had summoned Shantilal to come and see him, to be initiated at his hands to become a sadhu. So then everybody was unhappy, right? The whole atmosphere had changed. People were pressing Shantilal. It was only 4 days to Diwali. So his friends are pressing him that we will convince Shriji Maharaj, you can stay back for a week. You can do the last Diwali with us, we'll have fun, and then you can go later. But Shantilal, he immediately left with Rauji Bhai on his bicycle. So according to Shantilal, the best way to celebrate Diwali was to obey his guru, Shriji Maharaj. So our gurus have showed us the best way to celebrate any festival, the best way to celebrate Janma Jayanti, the best way to celebrate Diwali, the best way to celebrate Phul Dol, the best way to celebrate Shri Hari Jayanti is to obey the commands of the Satpurush. So this is the third way. We must follow commands to the letter. What happens if we do not follow the commands of the Satpurush? Those who have stepped outside of the commands have invited miseries for themselves. Swaminarayan Bhagwan has also mentioned this in Vachanamrut Ghatada, section number 1, Vachanamrut number 33. One who has a deficiency in the vow of celibacy, even if they stay with us, is still 100,000 miles away. A student might find it alluring to bunk classes and go for a cricket match, right? But he will know what miseries he has invited for himself by bunking the classes and not listening to the teacher when he takes the examinations or when the results will be out. In the same manner, we might feel that, there's nothing wrong with me. For the so many years I've been into satsang, I've been not following a few things by the Satpurush and everything is falling in place, nothing is wrong with me. But when the time comes, we might have to face the consequences. Mahant Swami Maharaj, he was in Chennai. Mahant Swami Maharaj was in Chennai in 2018. Swami Baba said, so he is trying to help us understand the importance of Agna. Even if an obstacle hasn't come until today, what if it comes in the future? Then he said, in strict words, there shouldn't be arguments against the command. All commands are thought out. They are not done randomly. So never have arguments against the command. Commands are to be applied, not to be argued against. So it is better to do what God and the saints say rather than doing what we feel is correct, right? Mehul just said that Mahant Swami Maharaj is antaryami, is omniscient. He knows everything. Gunatitanand Swami, in the next prasang we will say, there was a Hari Bhakt called Khima Bhagat. His son Ram, he was, you used to violate the vow of celibacy every now and then. So one day, when Swami was sitting after a very long travel, Swami was a bit exhausted. He was sitting on the asan. So this Ram, he came and started massaging Swami's feet. Gunatitanand Swami pulled back both of his feet and Swami rebuked. Swami said, you think Yampuri is false and you keep transgressing the vow of celibacy every now and then. You think I do not know that. I know every action of all beings. People may think of us to be ordinary men, but I see all the, Gunatitanand Swami says, I see all the actions of all the infinite beings of the universe, the way I can see a drop of water in my palm. Then he explained to him not to commit new sins. So when we forget that God is omniscient, God is always watching us, God is the all-doer, He can give fruits of our good and bad karmas. When we forget this, we start transgressing their commands. And if we do this, we may fall from satsang. Nishkudan Swami has mentioned this in Chausat Padi. Jem mahajadma magar, sagar sahune rakhe re, nana mota kari rahe ghar, koine na kaઢી નાખે રે. પણ જ્યાં લગી જીવ હોય ત્યાં લગી તેમાં રહે રે. વણ જીવે રહે નહીં કોઈ, લહેર દૂર નાખી દે રે. Just as the ocean is a habitat for crocodiles and all other beings, small and large, make it its home, it doesn't throw out anyone away. But that will happen only for as long as those creatures are alive. The moment someone dies in the ocean, the waves of the ocean will throw it away. By giving this example, Nishkudanand Swami says that even in satsang, for as long as we stay into the commands of Bhagwan and the Son, we will be able to survive. We will be able to be stable in satsang. We will also be able to progress in satsang. The moment we transgress their commands, we will fall from satsang. So let us pray to Maharaj Swami today that may we realize the importance of obedience and may we be able to obey their commands in a way they want us to. And may we be able to obey their commands in a way the Gunatit Gurus have obeyed their Gurus. Swaminarayan Bhagwanani Jai.
Thank you for joining us today and listening with such devotion. Bhagwan Swaminarayan has taught us the power of listening to katha. It purifies our mind and brings us closer to God. So if this katha helped you, give it a like, subscribe for more, and share it with someone you care about. Until next time, Jai Swaminarayan.